Hey, I seem to be in the mood to do short little videos connecting what you're learning to various things here today. So I'm continuing with that. And by the way, I've also noticed that I kind of screwed up my order. So what you'll actually see in the lectures, I think, is lecture 7.1, 7.2, 7.4, 7.5, 7.3. Like messed up the ordering, but I'm just I've got everything labeled that way now, so I'm going to keep it labeled that way. Don't worry about the order. They don't build off each other. Okay, so you just read about how people use classical conditioning for emotional reasons, to really to associate their products or whatever with positivity. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So let's just go into this issue. So there's an area in psychology, and we may get into it later in the textbook. I may be preempting something, but that's okay. Which is an area about how do you convince people of something? How do you make them accept your point of view on some issue or some product? And we often talk about there being two different ways of doing that are called either the central route or the peripheral route. The central route, think of a TED Talk here, a TEDx talk. In fact, I'm going to stick one of my TEDx talks at the bottom of this lecture. So think of that, as an attempt at the central route. And what's the central route good for? Or when does it work well? Well, it works well when your audience is ready to sit and listen. They're interested. So think of a TED event. They all come to be exposed to ideas, and so they're sitting there attending, thinking about what you're saying. Their processing has high effort. They're really evaluating and thinking about your points, etc. And if you're able to convince somebody in this hyper-rational environment, then you can actually change their point of view, and that change can be enduring. It can really last, right? And so if you see a good TED Talk, it can change your life. We say things like that. Or if you read a great book, it can change your life. This tends to be the way we consume that sort of thing. However, there's another way to get you to like something, and this is where classical conditioning comes in, and it's the way that almost every advertiser prefers. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go find some ad, and we're going to watch it together, and hopefully by watching the ad it doesn't make my video get flagged on YouTube. If it does, I'll break the ad somewhere. But in most ads, think of you sitting at TV and it goes to an advertisement, okay? You probably don't care that much about what's being said. You might just sort of tune out. You might be eating potato chips, whatever. You're not putting a lot of effort into listening to the message. And therefore, by the way, they don't try to put a whole lot of effort into giving you a detailed, logical reason to prefer their product or whatnot. Instead, because they know you're half attending, they tend to use classical conditioning. They tend to take their product and associate it with things that produce a positive reaction in you, things you already like. So think something I like, here's something, and it makes a positive. It makes me feel good. I like it. Now, if something predicts or is associated with that first thing, then you'll start to like the thing associated with it. All right. So let's go into just YouTube space here, and let's say great ads, great advertisements, great advertisements, commercials. Okay, and here's a bunch of fun ones, funny ones, creative ones. Best commercial of all time, best ever. Let's go with this one, and we'll just watch the first one. I don't even know what it is.
And there's your beautiful baby.
Any day now.
Really? You're eating Doritos? He's eating Doritos on my ultrasound. But I have to do.
I know.
Give me that.
Alrighty then. Well, I didn't see that coming. That was a pretty good ad, I have to say. But notice what it does, right? It didn't say Doritos taste good. It doesn't say they're healthy for you. It gives you no rational reason to like Doritos. What it does is it creates a funny situation that makes you laugh. So that situation made us laugh and feel positive, and they're associating Doritos with that. Absolutely no, if we go back to this, absolutely no central root information provided, no attempt, whatever. What they're trying to do is just associate their product with a positive emotional state. And then you like Doritos. This, watch your ads tonight and watch how much this happens. I want to give you an example that really, I saw this and it just kind of blew my mind as an example of how powerful this peripheral root is, and in fact how powerful emotion can be to overcome rational thought. And so this is sort of the old part of our brain, the limbic system, the emotional part, versus the newer part of our brain, the frontal lobes, the rational thinking part. And what a lot of advertisers know, and what a lot of people know, is the emotion side's stronger quite often. And it's not only people like advertisers that know, it's also people like Donald Trump. I want you to look at this. This was something posted before the election. It's meant to be a comparison. Here's Donald Trump coming into a crowd full of non-mask wearing people while the COVID pandemic is at its peak. And this is what they show for Donald Trump. And then they're down here showing Biden, his competitor. Now, if we can pause this for a second. So that music probably goes at the top. Pause it right here. So what are they doing here? Let's compare these two. Here is somebody who's very central root, right? This is somebody being very careful during a pandemic, and there's all these circles. This is the rational, right way to be. This isn't. But what is this? It's the emotional way to be. I often say with Donald Trump, if you had to sum him up in 4 words, it would be always strong, never wrong. That's what he wears, right? Always strong, never wrong. It's an emotion that people resonate to. And that's what all these people are resonating to, is the emotion of a powerful, strong leader coming in on his helicopter with the music blaring and crowds screaming. It's like, who do you want to vote for? Somebody like this or somebody like this? Well, if you're rational, it's this guy. Who put out the ad? This guy. Why? Because this guy knows that often people are responding purely on an emotional basis. And even though this ad basically shows how much of an idiot he's being with respect to this virus, he sees it as promotional, and it probably is. At least to the people who like him, this looks like a dweeby thing, and this looks like, yeah. So those words to leave you with. Emotion is powerful, and very often what Donald Trump tries to do is associate himself with this kind of imagery. Always strong, never wrong. That's what he cloaks himself in, and that's a very emotional kind of attempt to persuade you via this peripheral route. So I just thought I'd bring that in to tie it in, have a little bit of election. It's a couple days, at this time, it's a couple days away from the election. So, why not throw that in as well? All right, back to your learning. Bye-bye.